everyone, welcome to Slate Math. I know this is a little weird. We're just gonna have to be super flexible, and it's actually gonna be a really great time because you're gonna get to see Miss Vargas, Mr. Skyer, Miss Anjos, and even Miss McGuad. So it's gonna be super fun. Now before we start, make sure that you have your packet out, and if you don't have a packet, make sure you ask your mom or dad or someone around you to help you to access it online, or you can ask your family to reach out to your teacher so that we can help you out, okay? If you can, get a blank piece of paper and a pencil so that you can at least do the strategies with me. Sound good? All right, let's get started. First thing that we're going to do is I'm going to read the problem, so just follow along. Leo had some candy. He gave away 18 pieces of candy. Now he has 64 pieces left. How many pieces of candy did he start with? Write a number sentence to match the problem. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to write inside this box. We're going to do a little tiny box right here so we can put our number sentence that matches the story. I'm going to read the first sentence so we can figure out how we're going to start our number sentence. Leo had some candy. Take a few seconds to think about what we're going to write first for our number sentence. Awesome. Yes, so we're going to write a question mark because we didn't have any number in that first sentence. Now I'm going to read the next part. He gave away 18 pieces of candy. If he gives away something, you have to think about what we're going to write next. Yeah, so we're going to write minus 18 because when you give away something, you don't have it anymore. Next sentence. Now he has 64 pieces left. Let's see what we're going to write for that part. So next we're going to write equals 64. Now there's something that you should do before you solve the problem, and I want you to think about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we label our total and our parts before we solve so we know what's missing. Now remember, when we're subtracting, we put the arrow sign before, and that's where our total goes. And when you don't have your total, you add your parts. So I hope you remember that. Okay, so I'm only going to show you one strategy that I think is a really cool one. You can do other strategies, which I think that would be really great. So try to do at least two. But right now, I'm just going to show you one. So first, we want to start with a bigger number. The bigger number is 64. Then we want to add the next number, because remember, we're adding our parts to get to our total. I'm going to actually use place value. So I'm going to look in the tens place. There's only one 10, so I'm going to draw one 10 stick. And I'm actually going to label that. Then I see that there's 8 ones, so now I'm going to draw 8 ones. And I'm going to make sure that I know that this is my 18, so I'm just going to label it and count on. So 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay. Now this is the part where it can get a little bit confusing, but if you stay focused, you'll be all right. So 64 in our brain. We're going to count on, but make sure that you count on by tens, okay, because this is a 10 stick. So if we're adding 10 more, think about what the next number is going to be. Awesome. So next number is going to be 74. Now we're going to count by ones. We're not counting by tens anymore. So 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82. All right, so we found our missing total. Now, something that you can do just for fun is you can write a number sentence that matches your work. So the first number in our strategy that we wrote was 64. And we actually added to get to our total. So we're going to add 18. And our answer, which was 82. And we're going to label our parts and our total. And for our answer, you want to answer this in a complete sentence. How many pieces of candy did he start with? Take a second to do that real quick. So, Leo, you should have written, Leo started with 82 pieces of candy. Okay, let's get to the next question. Number 2, find the sum of 279 plus 51. Use the HTO chart to help you solve. So the first thing that we should do is we should label HTO and then TO. We want to make sure that we're drawing our number, but we're going slow. So let's draw this first number. So think about how many hundreds we have for this first number. And I want you to draw that. Yep, so we have 2 hundreds. And we're not going to label just yet. That's going to be the last thing we do. So now let's see how many tens we have for this number. We have 7 tens. Now we go to our ones. We have 9 ones. All right, so now we go to our next number. Don't have any hundreds, so we're going to go straight to our tens. So we have 5 tens. And we only have 1 here, so we're going to add it here. Now what we have to do is we have to regroup and make sure that it makes it easier for us to count. So let's start with the ones place. Can we regroup the ones place? I want you to think about that for a second. Can you regroup it? Yes, you can. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're going to circle that. We're going to cross it out. And we're going to bring it over here. And we're going to just draw a 10 stick right over here, wherever you have space. Now we're going to count and see if we can regroup our tens and make it into 100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 3 left. So make sure that you leave 3 of your 10 sticks left. You want to cross that out. Okay, now we can label. So I want you to take a second, I want you to label, and we'll see if we get the same answer. All right, let's see. 100, 200. Oh, I made a mistake. I forgot to bring over 100 over here. 300. And now we're going to count by tens. 310, 320, 330. So if you got that, awesome job. Kiss your brains. All right, so we're going to move on to the next page. And if you have a white piece of paper, just flip it over. Okay, so we're going to move on to number 3. It says count up by 5s for each. Now, I know it can get a little bit scary counting by fives when you get into the hundreds, but just think about only looking at the tens and ones, and you're going to know what comes next, okay? What I like to do is I like to think of the song when you're counting by fives, like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So think about that in your head. What do you think would come after 85? And just keep the 500s the same. All right, so I'm going to write my answer. We'll see if ours match. And now you keep that in your head. So you count back. So we're going to go over here. 85, 90. What do you think is going to come next? $95. Now we're really close to the next 100, so I want you to think about what do you think we're going to write next? Awesome. So we're going to write 600. And now we're starting all over. We're counting by fives again. Okay, so the next number is going to only be in the ones place. 605. We already have that next number done. 5, 10. What do you think is going to come next? 15. So 615. 5, 10, 15. What do you think's next? 620. All right, let's do this one. So we have 15. So we have 315. Let's try to only look at that tens and ones so we can kind of figure out what's going to come next. So 15. What do you think is going to come next when we're counting by fives? Write down your answer. Let's see if we match. 320. So 1520. What do you think is going to come here? 325. Let's go back. 15, 20, 25, 30. 335. 15, 20, 25, 30. 35. 340. 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. 345. And you can write that last number down. Let's see if we match. 350. All right, let's do this last one. So again, when we have a 0 in the 10 and 0 in the ones place, we're going to start over and we're going to count by fives again. Okay, so 400. 405. I actually want you to take a few minutes and fill out the rest, and let's see if we get this right. So take a few minutes to do that. All right, I'm going to start to fill it out. Let's see if we get this right. 400, 405, 410, 415, 420, 425, 430, 435. All right, let's move on. So we're going to move on to number 4. I'm going to read the problem first because this one can get a little bit challenging. There are 13 people on the train. The train stops and 5 people get off. Then 7 people get on. Now how many people are on the train? Show your work. Now, when I think about this problem, I already know there's a lot happening, and I can tell that this is kind of like a 2-step problem. So what I'm going to do to make it easier is I'm just going to draw a line in the middle here. So I want you to make sure that you have 2 boxes that you can work with, one here and one here. And I'm just going to write a number sentence on what I'm going to do first. So there are 13 people on the train. The train stops and 5 people get off. So I want you to think about what number sentence you would write for just the sentence that I read. I'm going to read it again. There are 13 people on the train. The train stops and 5 people get off. What could we write for that number sentence? So hopefully you wrote something like this. 13 minus 5 equals question mark. Okay. So 5 people get off, so that's why we're subtracting 5, and we know that there was 13 people in the beginning. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an easy strategy so that way we can do the second part when we're done. So remember, we're going to put that big number in our brain. 13. And then we're going to do 5 circles. Now hopefully you remember that we're subtracting, so we are going to count down. So 13 is in our brain. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. All right, so we know that we had 8 people. Now, when we read the next part, something else happens. Then 7 people get on the train. So we left off with 8 people. So we're going to write another number sentence so we know what we're going to do next. Remember, we had 8 people last. So we're going to do 8. And we're going to remember that 7 people got on. So we're going to write plus 7 equals question mark. So now we're thinking about this side. We're already done with this side. We're going to put the big number in our brain, which is 8. Good job. Now we're going to do 7 circles. And we're going to add because we see that we're adding with our sign. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to answer our question. Now, how many people are on the train? Now we know that there are 15 people on the train. Now, there are 15 people on the train. All right, now we're going to go to the next part of our packet, which is number 5. And I'll give you a second if you need another white piece of paper. All right, I hope you have that extra piece of paper. And for those of you who have the packet, we're on number 5 now. All right, I'm going to start reading it. Sabrina wrote this fact family. Circle any number sentences that are not correct. Then fix her fact family. All right, so first things first. I want you to think about when we're making a fact family, how many addition number sentences do we have and how many subtraction number sentences do we have? So take a second to think about that. All right, so we know we're going to have 2 addition and 2 subtraction. So We see that here, which is good. Now we need to make sure that the numbers that are in each spot are correct. So let's go through the first number. So 7 plus 5 equals 12. Well, we can easily use our fingers and see if that's correct. So if we put 7 in our brain and we add the 5 fingers, I want you to see if you get to 12. Awesome. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Great. So we know that this fact family is correct. And we know that these are our parts and this is our total, which we should label that just so we can remind ourselves that if it's not in the right spot for the rest of the number sentences, we can catch the one that's not correct. All right, let's do the next one. 12 plus 5 equals 7. I want you to think about whether that's right or if it's wrong. So if you said it was wrong, yes, this one's definitely wrong. Especially because if we're labeling our parts and our total, we can see that our total is actually where our part is supposed to be. So that is not correct. Something that we always remember is that when we're adding, we can switch our parts around, okay? And we know that our parts are 7 plus 5, which Sabrina didn't do that for this one. So we're gonna circle this. And we're gonna put an arrow here and we're gonna write the correct number sentence. I want you to take a second to write the correct one. All right, let's see if ours match. So remember, she already wrote 7 plus 5, so I switched my parts around, and I know that it equals 12. Okay, let's look at the next part. When we're subtracting, we know that our total goes before the minus sign. Let's see if our total is here. All right, well, I see that 12 is before the minus sign. Do we think that's correct, or do we think it's wrong? Yep, this one is correct. Put a little check mark there. All right, let's look at the next one. Again, we know that the total goes before the minus sign. I want you to take a second and figure out if that's correct or if it's incorrect. So this one is incorrect. And the reason why it's not right is because our total is supposed to be in the spot. And Sabrina put her part in that spot. So she did not put her total in that right spot. Now I want you to take a couple seconds to write the correct way over here. All right, so if you wrote 12 minus 5 equals 7, you're right. Remember, our total goes before the minus sign. All right, let's move on to the next part. Make sure you have a little bit of space to draw on your white piece of paper if you have one, or if you have your packet. We're on number 6. What is the value of the digit 8 in the number 587? Draw a picture to represent the digit. First thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you are labeling HTO on top of your number. I want you to circle where you see the 8, the digit 8. So we know that 8 is in our tens place, so we know we're going to draw tens. I want you to draw your tens here. Then I want you to figure out how much you have for your value at the end. So you're going to draw your tens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I want you to count by tens, and we're going to see if we get the same answer at the end. To make sure you're doing that right now. All right, let's see if we get the same answer. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. All right, so our value is not 8, but our value is 80, because when we draw the 8 tens, the most important thing that we answer is our value, okay? So we drew our picture to represent the digit, and now we're going to write the value on the bottom here, which is 80. All right, guys, awesome job. I can tell you were super focused. Now remember, make sure that you keep all of your work in a safe spot, because every single one of your teachers will be conferencing with you and seeing how you're doing with your work. So just make sure you keep that in a safe spot. All right, guys, have a good Wednesday.